We've got breaking news. The former South Carolina police officer who shot and killed an unarmed black man 2 years ago has reportedly reached a plea deal a week before his federal civil rights trial was set to begin. Video from April 2015 shows Officer Micheal Slager shooting Walter Scott at least 5 times in the back as Scott ran from the officer. NBC News Justice correspondent Pete Williams is live in D.C. with more. Pete, what can you tell us?
Well, this is going to be a significant thing if it happens according to the initial plan by the lawyers here. What they say is that Micheal Slager will agree to plead guilty to some of the federal civil rights charges that were filed against him last year, and that this will resolve not only the federal case, but also will prevent the state from seeking to try him again. He was tried for murder on state charges, but the jury couldn't reach agreement on a verdict in December, and so a mistrial was declared. The state had said it was going to try to prosecute him again on murder or manslaughter charges, but now apparently that's not going to happen as part of this umbrella plea agreement. So when he comes to court this afternoon at 2:30, according to legal officials who are familiar with the proposed agreement here, he will plead guilty to some of the remaining federal civil rights charges. Now, those could be serious because when the federal charges were filed last year, the civil rights charges, at least on 2 of the counts, it could result in life in prison. But presumably the sentence will be shorter than that, or would there'd be no motivation to agree to a plea here. So we should know exactly how it works when he comes to court this afternoon at 2:30. This is a good example of why the federal government steps into these cases. The state had already filed its charges, and then last year, about a year ago, the federal government filed its own separate federal civil rights charges. In that case, remained in the background, and that's a typical strategy the federal government follows in these cases, Stephanie. So you have the case as a sort of a back burner case that could be used if something happens and the state case collapses. That's what happened here. So it looks like this will all be resolved here, and we'll know in a couple of hours what he'll plead guilty to, but we won't know for several more months what the sentence is.
All right, thanks. NBC's Peter Williams.
Oh shit. Shit. Oh shit. Fucking abuse. Fucking abuse, man.
Breaking, cop to plead guilty in murder of Walter Scott caught on video. Charleston, SC. In December, the trial of Micheal Slager, who shot and killed Walter Scott in the back as he ran away on video, tragically ended in a mistrial. Now, in what will likely be another travesty of justice, the officer has reached a plea deal and is expected to plead guilty in federal court on Tuesday. Slager, who murdered a man over a tail light infraction, was facing both federal civil rights and state murder charges in connection with the killing of Walter Scott in April of 2015. Scott, 50, was unarmed and running away when he was killed. According to NBC News, after the mistrial in December, state prosecutors in South Carolina said they would seek to try Micheal Slager again, but no charges had yet been filed. That means that if this plea goes as proposed, Slager's guilty plea on the remaining federal charges would be the end of all the criminal cases, and the state would not seek to try him again, NBC reports. Had Slager gone to trial, he was facing a potential life sentence for violating Scott's civil rights. However, this plea, especially since criminal case ended in a hung jury, will likely be far less or could be even no jail time at all. While the sentencing for the plea won't happen for several months, it appears that Micheal Slager will get off with a slap on the wrist for murdering a man on video as he ran away. Since he shot Walter Scott in the back in April of 2015, Slager has been free on bail. Slager has maintained that the video of him shooting Walter Scott in the back as he ran away does not show the entire picture and claims that he had justifiable reason to fear for my life. Read more. Police steal $16,000 from farmer to finance a larger operation to rob more people. In an interview with LEOAFFAIRS, a juror from the mistrial last December, apparently sympathetic to cops shooting people in their back over a broken tail light, explained that they would never return a guilty verdict. "I cannot and will not change my mind," one juror said in a note cited by LEOAFFAIRS. "I understand the position of the court, but I cannot in good conscience consider a guilty verdict. I respect the position of my fellow jurors, some of which oppose my position. As you stated, we must follow the instructions you have given us, and the law. At the same time, my heart does not want to have to tell the Scott family that the man that killed their son, brother, and father is innocent. But with the choices, I cannot and will not change my mind." In October of 2015, the North Charleston City Council unanimously voted to approve a $6.5 million settlement to the family of Walter Scott. His selfless family then quickly announced they would be donating a portion of the money to help with disaster relief efforts for the flooding taking place in South Carolina at the time. At 9:33 a.m. on April 4, 2015, North Charleston patrolman Micheal Slager noticed 50-year-old Walter Lamar Scott driving with a broken brake light. According to his dashcam footage, Slager pulled Scott over and requested his driver's license. As Slager returned to his patrol car to run a check on Scott's license, Scott waited a few moments before suddenly exiting his vehicle and fleeing on foot. Slager chased after him and reportedly fired his taser at Scott in an attempt to subdue him. According to a statement released by North Charleston Police spokesman Spencer Pryor, Scott managed to take Slager's taser from his hands and tried to use the weapon against the officer. Slager claimed that he felt threatened, pulled out his Glock, and fired several rounds at Scott. But video of the shooting contradicted the officer's account. Read more. DOJ report claims Ferguson police intentionally target black people to bolster revenue. While walking to work, a bystander named Faden Santana witnessed the incident and recorded a video of the shooting on his cell phone. In the video, Scott appears to slap something out of the officer's hands before turning to flee. As Scott runs away from the officer, the prongs biting into his clothing begin to stretch the wires from Slager's taser. Instead of chasing after Scott, Slager drew his gun and fired 8 shots at Scott. 4 bullets hit Scott in the back and 1 struck him in the ear. 2 of the shots were fatal. Immediately after gunning down Scott, Slager glanced at Santana before speaking into his radio. According to the incident report, Slager stated into his radio, Shots fired and the subject is down. He took my taser. After Slager cuffed Scott's hands behind his back, Officer Clarence Habersham arrived at the scene. Slager immediately rushed back to the spot where he fired his gun and picked up an object. Slager then returned to Scott's body and appeared to plant his taser next to him. In the video, the officers lift Scott's shirt to check on his wounds and feel his pulse, but they do not administer CPR. At the time of his death, Scott was wanted on a family court warrant. On April 7, Slager was fired from the department and arrested for murder. 3 days later, the National Bar Association issued a press release calling for the termination and indictment of Officer Habersham for his alleged involvement in covering up the murder. In his police report, Habersham failed to mention Slager planting evidence next to Scott's body and claimed to administer CPR when the video clearly shows otherwise. Read more, like internet cookies but in the real world billboards to track your movements, behavior. A week after the shooting, on April 12, The Guardian was leaked an audio recording of Slager laughing about the adrenaline rush that he felt as he murdered Walter Scott. On June 6, a grand jury decided to indict Slager for the murder of Walter Scott. We are now seeing the most difficult process of holding police accountable for killing unarmed people play out before us like the hundreds of times before. As this case was so cut and dry, police accountability activists easily thought that it would be the one to put a cop away for murder. It appears, for now, however, that we were wrong.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheep up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Charlotte County Cop Watch with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if some, if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave a, let's say, actually, yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But, do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, at least I can do it, 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt-free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, if I got, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. 47,000 of you so far right now. $1 a day. I mean, $1 a month on Patreon or $5 a month on Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.